We're back, we're back, we're back. You are listening to Soul Perspectives here on CKUT 90.3 FM. My name is Kim Dominique-Ferguson, and I'm in the building with...
Renee Jordan.
And online, we have Teez, a local Montreal artist who is a hip-hop, jazz musician, singer, songwriter, and has recently released a new album back in September, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that project. How did that come together?
So the project is called The Index to My Inner Thoughts, and it's kind of a reflection of certain emotions, desires, and concepts and ideas that I have on a daily basis, and just things that I think about, and I got to put this EP together when I was touring off my first EP. I kind of traveled in Japan a bit. I played in Tokyo, in Korea as well, in Seoul. I played a couple of times in France and in Paris, and also happened to go to Portugal. So, but I was always coming back to Montreal between those times, right? Like, it wasn't like a huge, 2-month tour on the road type of thing. So, going to these different places and seeing different things, touching different textures and eating different foods kind of just opened my mind and gave me a new train of thought. So when I would come back to Montreal, I would live this thing, and also there was a lot of showcases, right? So you meet a lot of other up and coming artists and artists from there, so you kind of bathing that. You're not really going to the touristy things, you're kind of just in the artistical environment over there. So that really kind of helped with conceptualizing this whole project. So when I was coming back to Montreal, I kind of wrote everything out, and I wrote to the music, and this is what came out, The Index of My Inner Thoughts. Yeah.
And you had one of your singles. You released a music video to it, and I gotta say, I as a filmmaker and a lover of music, I found it really, really beautiful and intriguing, because it really wasn't. It's not your typical music video at all. Content is typical. You're talking about love. You're talking about this woman that you're attracted to in some way. I don't recall if it was a breakup situation or something like that, but the quality of the video and the way that it was shot and the stylization, I was really interested in why you or your director or the editor decided to go in that direction.
So we're talking about questions, right? Just that one. I wasn't really talking about necessarily a significant other or a girl per se. It was just kind of more questioning the state of kind of everything, and behind that concept of questions, I think that the best way to introduce yourself to someone is through your questions, right? Because your questions kind of represent your values and who you are. You're going to question certain things because you are a certain way.
Right.
So, so we had this very melancholic jazz sample and a beautiful trumpet that my friend Jérôme depuis Cloutier, that I work closely with, did a beautiful job over that trumpet. And there's not really a hook, and it's kind of like a pure intro. And I thought that it would be really cool to kind of have this really glitchy but jazzy and bluish kind of video, and kind of not understanding the blurs and seeing different perspectives, from my perspective to another person's perspective and to a girl's perspective, and kind of that and everybody's walking, and that's when you question yourself the most, kind of when you're just walking. So, but we all have that in common, we all ask ourselves questions, and kind of you are your questions. So I thought that the best way to introduce people to my inner thoughts would be through my questions and everyone's questions, because that's kind of what relates us in some ways, that we all question certain things.
What kind of things did you question in the song?
So I have a bar. I'm like, what do I say? I'm like, she's always online. She hates being alone. Stuff like that. Also,
So questioning people's actions and why they do what they do.
actions, yeah, and just kind
Why
of
they're
like
on social
why,
media and
yeah, and kind of like what that represents. Like I worked a long time in the nightlife, and then you also have a bar. I'm like, oh, you think you're the man because you got like bottles and like I say, blow in the song, So because I see that all the time, with a cup of Veuve Clicquot that come with the hose, like you saw, like I'll question that, like I see it all, like I was busting tables at the biggest clubs in Montreal and just. Shout out to them though, because like I respect that, but at the same time, I was never gonna be like these guys that are spending $10,000 like every weekend at these tables, and kind of like sometimes the girls that are there, they don't even like look at you, you know what I mean, and it's crazy, like what you're better than me or something, and like you picked this glass up or some shit, like you need more cranberry juice, and just being mad disrespectful. You stepped on my shoe, so like there's a bit of that in there, and also like questioning just dark thoughts that we have, and just kind of just reflections, kind of questioning reflections that I have on like daily aspects of our lives, basically.
So when you say dark thoughts, what can you get a little bit more specific about that? Like, are we talking about like mental health issues and things like that?
Well, kind of. Okay, dark thoughts. Yeah, it's maybe not the best word, but kind of just like your self reflections. So, but it could be dark for someone. My dark is a different dark for someone else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So. Dark, maybe when I say dark, I mean deep. Not necessarily dark in a negative way, just kind of like dark because it's deep and bleak and just some, the classic thoughts of existence.
Yeah.
Like what happens when we die,
Right.
It's kind of like those philosophical reflecting thoughts that one may have that differs from person to person, but
Right.
in this song Questions, that kind of bring you through those dark and bleak and maybe not understandable thoughts that you may have, that we all have. Right. So, but these, we all have different thoughts, but these happen to be mine.
Okay. Renee?
I'm thinking. I'm trying to think because you mentioned that you were a positive guy, so I was like, okay, positive guy, dark thoughts. But then your dark thoughts weren't really necessarily dark; they're just sort of life thoughts that might lead other people down a dark path, but not for you.
Exactly. It's kind of deciphering your own things so you understand yourself better, or you understand certain situations better. Like an example, like I have some close friends that support Trump,
Right.
Or, I have a family member that's, somewhere down in my line in my family that supports Trump. I'm against Trump. I think it's racist. I think it's sexist, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're not just supporting Trump for like the clout, like a lot of people are nowadays, just posting stuff and like have no idea. But some people truly, some people just want to vote for like the Republican Party because they're conservative at heart, and that's their beliefs. They don't believe in a liberal and democratic political system. So why would you vote that's something that's completely against your political beliefs? You want tax breaks. You don't want more of your money going into welfare, into social benefits and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So from there, you should hate every racist and sexist person. But does that make every person that votes for Trump a sexist and racist person? It doesn't. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's because he's in a party that reflects a lot of people's views.
Yeah.
So it's kind of but I had to decipher that myself.
Right.
Like these are things that I think about,
right.
And that I kind of come to that conclusion, I'm like, well, listen, like this is what he, like he backed up what he said with reason, and it made sense. You know what I mean? It's not just someone like you, like peep this link that I found on Facebook that's like zero credibility, with a bunch of like fake advertisements news around it, and say that like, the Democrats are pedophiles and Pizzagate and all that stuff, but someone that legit kind of like, so it's just thoughts like that,
so
kind
someone,
of just
someone
putting things together.
who breaks it down in a logical way and says like, look, these are my core values, and the Republican Party matches up with my core values, and
Yeah.
As we say in French, veut pas. Trump is
Yeah.
leader of the representative of the Republican Party right now,
Yeah.
and my
Exactly.
values line up with that, and so that's why they're voting for him. So it doesn't
Exactly.
necessarily mean that the person is racist or sexist or against
Yes.
or is like this pro all lives matter and against Black Lives Matter. It's that
Yes. Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
their core
But
values and what they
yeah.
want the
Yeah.
government to reflect for them.
Exactly.
Interesting. It's interesting that you're having those thoughts and those conversations because I think that
Yeah.
COVID-19 and the quarantine has forced people to kind of start looking at themselves and looking at other folks because it's really hard to constantly be yelling at people and telling them that they're racist, and now that you're in this isolation, like it forces you to use your brain even more. I
Exactly.
just find that like I got onto TikTok and there's a lot of social justice folks there, and they're
Yeah.
kind of opening up my mind, and like sometimes when people follow me on TikTok and I go on their page just to see who they are, and I'll see
Mm-hmm.
Trump 2020, but then when I
Oh
look
my
at their
God.
videos or whatever, their
Uh-huh.
videos aren't racist. They're not like
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah.
wholesome, for want of a better word. So it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
this dynamic of like you support Trump. Trump is super racist and sexist, and
Yeah.
he's not even like trying to cover it. But you
Yeah.
seem like a
Yeah.
decent human being at the same time. It's like it's like
No.
everybody.
I
People
don't
are
know
not
how
that
we got into the
simple.
politics, but somehow I feel as though that even if the party is representative of certain views and values, if you have the same leader who's heading the party who takes care of none of those things in the political or democratic way, just seems to be running a bit of a show, then I don't really see how voting him in for another term is going to get any sort of
But
continuation.
so you see, you just had a thought, and that's a deep thought. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's why I'm out with it when it came to this song and this EP in general. You know, it's kind of questioning everything, right? So I question something, you just question what we said, and you know, just you see what I'm saying? It opens up the dialogue and the discussion for in depth things. And when you are thinking and you are surrounded by in depth conversations and just in depth subjects, that will bring out in depth music, which that's what I'm trying to make. So you know, that's kind of, this is great, and a perfect example, you know, like, so I'll
also
probably
to-
write something about a conversation we just had, you know what I mean?
But to respond to that, just because Donald Trump is like super racist and sexist and he's doing all of this stuff doesn't mean that the policies that the Republican Party represents aren't going through. So if I was a Republican and I wanted to have tax breaks and I wanted to have, you know, just name out the top 5 things that Donald Trump's party is going to do, just because he's, you know, being a clown, an orange clown.
Or you know what? Maybe he's
Doesn't-
working some distractions.
It could be, but like the things that his party says that they're going to do are there. So some people are willing to be like, yeah, he may be a fool, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in
Exactly.
the
I mean,
facade. I'm interested in what are the policies. And I think that
Yeah.
that's where a lot of people have contention. It's because people are voting for policy and some people are voting for against the face of the Republican group. So it's like what
it's
is,
still Trump out though all day, but I don't hate you if you vote for him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
but that's just what I believe. You know, and that's kind of like so. But that's what democracy is all about: is to have people that have different opinions about different stuff. You know, like if we didn't have people to vote for Trump, then we wouldn't really have a democracy. If everybody voted liberal and just that was it. You know what I mean? So it's important to you know, but also it's a gray area too, you know, because you have extremes on both sides, and you know, both do messed up stuff sometimes. So it's kind of it's a tricky game.
because
But yeah,
not to keep harping on the politics, but like even if we look at Hillary Clinton, and people were really like pushing for her, but if you look at her historically and the things that she supported prison. She called black folks super predators. You know, there's so much problematic stuff going on with her, and she's in the so-called right party to vote for. So it's like, are you voting for policy or you're voting for a person? So it's that balance that we have to start figuring out, and like people need to start looking a little bit deeper under the surface as well.
At the end of the day, politics are going to politic, and that's why we got to keep making music and raising awareness and bringing different vibes to the ground.
Yeah,
Like I loved all the music that came out about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. Like, some really good stuff comes out. If you look at Marvin Gaye's catalog, his best stuff is revolutionary stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So with politics comes music. With how the world is. Like I absolutely love Marvin Gaye's what's going on, and Mercy and all of those songs. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Just in case you're tuning in for the first time, we are speaking to Teez, a local Montreal artist who is a fusion hip hop jazz singer, songwriter, musician. We are gonna go to a quick break and we'll come right back. Keep it locked. You are listening to Soul Perspectives here on CKUT 90.3 FM.